What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Guarani Vision, the first ever podcast dedicated to Paraguayan football in English. As always, I'm Roberto Rojas, and joining me as always are my two great co-hosts, Fede Perez Maria Britos. And guys, we're in a new month. You know, obviously there is no real league action happening at the moment. We're taking a break because of this international break that's been going on. It sucks to say that we're saying this in June in a World Cup year when there's no World Cup happening. Usually around this time, every 4 years is when people start to prepare for the World Cup. Teams are getting ready to send their sides to the whatever host nation that they're coming on. But in this weird year, we won't have to wait until November. Obviously, that has nothing to do with us, as our national team has not qualified for the World Cup, but that doesn't mean that Paraguay are not in action in these international friendlies. We'll talk about what went right and what went wrong for this national team moving forward. We'll also talk about what's been going on in the Sudamericana and Copa Libertadores draw that happened a couple of days ago. Our three Paraguayan sides were drawn in interesting ties that we'll definitely talk about and get our analysis from. So I'm excited about this as always. And so let's get my two great co-hosts in as always. Fede Perez, who, you know, obviously, I mean, it's we're heading into a new month, but boy, it feels very dull, I would say, or gloomy, if that's the right word, for any team that supports a Paraguayan football side.
Yeah, hey, Roberto. It's nice to see you again. Hi to Maria. Hi to everyone listening, like always, to Guarani Vision. We probably got a shorter episode this time around because we don't have local league. The first division has been stopped for a couple of weeks due to the situation that we have FIFA games. We got the national team playing in Asia. A couple of friendly matches. Everyone's asking themselves here, why did they stop the local league for this? Just to watch our national team do so bad on the other side of the world. There wasn't that many players also on the list, on the call-up list from our coach from the national league, from the local league. So, you know, a lot of people were asking themselves, was this really necessary? We'll talk about that. We'll discuss what we saw from this first game against Japan. We got to play against Korea also in this doubleheader that we have. Obviously not easy. It's a very hard moment for the national team, and yeah, we're getting ready for the World Cup, just not for this one, Roberto. That's the reality of Paraguay in this 2022. You know, we're trying to get to a new start. We're trying to get to a new beginning. That's just not happening. And after this 4-1, we definitely have to look at all the drama that's going on with the national team and the draw. We're going up against the Brazilian sides. That's what's happening in the Sudamericana and Libertadores. We'll talk who Olimpia has to play in Sudamericana, who Libertad has to play in Libertadores. Also, Cerro Porteño probably getting the worst draw they could have had. As of the opponent they're going to face, and they have to get right away ready for these matches. And there's a lot of talk going on, a lot of rumors of certain players that could get to these teams also to make them stronger ahead of what's coming up in the Libertadores. I'm cool. It is the 6th month of the year, Roberto. It's July around here, so it is kind of cold. So as you go and say hi to Maria, I'll have my coffee, and I got my chipa here, so you go right ahead, dude.
Well, I got my water here because it's heating up here, and you know, obviously Maria, it's always hot in Miami, so she's always got water or tere as well. I mean, it's around this time as well for it. But yeah, Maria, how are you? It's been a while as well that we haven't seen you partying it up over there in Ibiza.
Hey guys, I'm back. Yeah, I took a little break, had some fun in Ibiza. But yeah, it's been a while. I haven't had tereré. I don't know why. You know, I guess I should get back into that. I have had mate, which is really good.
Get some yerba, get some ice, and you know, get some water and put it on, man.
It's definitely that kind of season right now. So yeah, hey guys. You know, I'm looking forward to, you know, talking again about our amazing performance once again overseas of Paraguay. So looking forward to seeing what's next for this team. You know, what can we see from them again, and what could be, you know, what can they do to fix all of this? I mean, we have talked about it, but you know, when it comes to friendlies, it's kind of like a different scenario. Plus, we had a really, you know, a player that hasn't been around in the in the national teams for a while. So that's a good that was a good sign, and hopefully it continues to hopefully he continues to come. We'll talk about it more later on.
And obviously that player is Derlis Gonzalez, who we'll talk about in a bit. But actually, there is one shining light that happened over the last few days. Actually, I forgot to mention, in not just in, well, it was in football, but this was actually football on the beach. Paraguay hosted the Copa America of beach soccer last month, and surprisingly, in the final, Paraguay took on Brazil and won. They won 3-2, winning their first ever Copa America title. I think this tournament started, I think, back in 2016. Brazil were the only winners of this competition. They've always been dominant in beach soccer. And here comes Paraguay hosting this tournament. Remember, this was also a Paraguay side that had hosted the Beach Soccer World Cup. I think it was 2 years ago or something, 2021. So, I mean, Fede, I mean, you obviously have a more closer, you're more close in depth to this. This is a big achievement, I would say, for Paraguayan soccer, I would say. I mean, obviously, we like to talk about the women's game, the men's game, but we don't really talk a lot about beach soccer or even futsal as well, another sport that Paraguay's dominant in. But this was a big achievement for the Paraguayan beach soccer team to beat basically the kings of beach soccer.
Yeah, this is a sport that's actually growing a lot, and you know, it is an alternative for players that play in lower leagues. They get a chance to play in big tournaments to go around the world, and we actually have a pretty good players in beach soccer, and I'm actually really happy every time these guys play in in whatever tournament they get the chance to do it, be it a World Cup or a Copa America. They do a great job, and you know, Paraguay, I believe, is the only country in South America to have a stadium that's only used for beach soccer. So that's a privilege, you know, and that's something that we need to take care of. And hopefully, as the year goes by, we stay strong in beach soccer. This is a great achievement, I think, for everyone. And it just shows that, you know, besides what's going on with the national team, with football, and we got these kind of surprises and these kind of big results, and we beat Brazil. I mean, they pretty much made this sport, so it makes it even more special to beat them in the final and in front of our home crowd.
Surprisingly enough, I think it's very random that we are actually good, in sandy sports. I feel like we're good, apparently in beach soccer, and
we have no beaches here.
That's exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Think about that. A landlocked country just won against the best beach soccer team in the world.
Correct.
Think about that.
Yeah, you do have a lot of rivers. You do have a lot of places where you might get some sand, but yeah, you're usually not playing soccer there, Maria. That is very true. But we do have very strong players, and we have so many players that a lot of them find the opportunity there, you know, in beach soccer.
And it's not an easy sport, because playing anything in sand is just, it's really hard. You have to be like really tough and good at it. So I'm surprised and I'm happy for them. So congrats.
It seems as if though we're also being good at, we always talk about 11-a-side, but even 5-a-side, Fede, we're also good at futsal. Hard to believe. Like, not a lot of people know about this. I mean, yes, teams like Brazil also are good. A lot of countries across South America and I think Europe as well. Yeah, but people forget about that.
The last Copa America, Paraguay made the final and we lost against Argentina. So, we made the finals there also. So, yeah, you got to look into these sports if you kind of like other things close to football. The futsal and beach soccer, these are things that are really growing and that FIFA is really looking into evolving here in South America.
Absolutely, and it's fun as well. Hard to believe that. It's very fun to
exciting
play
games,
and to watch it. Exactly. So we'll shift back to the 11-a-side and talk about the main football that we always like to talk about here, and switch into the Copa Libertadores and Sudamericana draw. Both the round of 16 matches are being made. Obviously, the 3 Paraguayan sides are participating in these 2 tournaments respectively. We'll switch gears first to the Sudamericana draw first, actually, as Olimpia, obviously finishing 3rd in that group with Cerro Porteño, Peñarol, and Colón, will be taking on Atlético Goianense, the team based in Brazil. Currently, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, are right in the, I would say, the relegation zone of the Brazilian league. Obviously, the Brazilian league already started way later than the local league here in Paraguay, but this was a side as well that finished top of their group, finished in a group with Liga de Quito, Deportes Antofagasta, and Defensa y Justicia, winning 4 games, drawing 1, and only losing 1. Maria, I'll go to you on this one because I think, for lack of a better word, and I think a lot of Olimpia fans will agree on this, that I think people feel confident, actually. Yes, it is a Brazilian side, but it's not one of the strongest Brazilian sides out there. I mean, people would get worried if it was a Santos or a Flamengo or a Palmeiras or any of those teams. But in Olympia's case, I think you could really fancy their chances in this draw happening against the Brazilian side in Goianense.
Yes, you're totally right. I think people are confident, especially the players are probably, having a little bit of relief after getting this draw. So, especially after the tough group stage that they had. And, I think that it's obviously it's not a time to lay back and not, and take a step back, but actually take advantage of this situation and try to figure out what exactly they did wrong in the Libertadores, to be able to be successful in this competition and hopefully get further than they were able to do in the Libertadores. So I think for them to get this team, it's definitely a good sign. I just hope that they do take advantage of it. But it doesn't agree.
No, I don't agree. I don't see this team really getting far in the Sudamericana. I think they're going to need to put their heads back into the local league for the second tournament and try to not have a long Libertadores 2023. And but yeah, I do think they can get through Goianiense, especially because of what Roberto was saying. Goianiense is not living a great moment right now, and I look into the roster. They're not one of the big teams in Brazil. So I think it was a pretty good draw for Olympia. If you look at the size that they could have faced, unfortunately, they're not going to count with certain players that they wanted to count for these 2 matches. It comes at a very, very unfortunate moment, these 2 games that Olympia has to play, because Olympia has players that are out on loans, and those are the only players that can actually come back to the club, because of what we mentioned before and during this year, that Olympia has the sanction from FIFA, and they can't hire players until they pay those problems that they have with other clubs. So the only players that can come into the squad are those players that are from Olympia, that had contract with Olympia, but are all out on other clubs on loans. Olympia has 2 of those players. One of them is Hugo Fernandez. He's been in Argentina these last couple of months playing for Defensa Justicia. He hasn't played that much, but he's a very important young player, especially if you take the fact that he can play for Ale Silva. They don't really have that many substitutes for the Uruguayan in midfield. So Hugo Fernandez might be important, and he could have a lot of game time in the second part of the season, right? But he's not going to be ready. He's not going to be able to play these 2 games against Goianiense, because the loan is not going to be done. The contract is not going to be over by the time they have to play Goianiense. And Olympia also has another player out on a loan, and that's Brian Montenegro, and he actually plays for Goianiense. He's been on Goianiense this last year, and Goianiense is not gonna buy him. So he's probably gonna come back to Olympia in the next couple of days. That will probably be confirmed, but it's also going to be the same situation. He's not going to be able to play these 2 games against his former club. So Olympia is going to have to handle themselves with what they have. They're going to get a couple of players back from injury, like Jorge Recalde. He's been out for a while. So Olympia is going to probably have all their players available. That is good news for these 2 games against Goianiense. And they got to get through these 2 games, Roberto, and then wait to see if they have a stronger side on the next phase. But I do think Olimpia can get through Goianiense. That's what I thought.
Yeah, if Olimpia does indeed qualify, they will take on the winner of Nacional of Uruguay and Unión de Santa Fe. So also in broader terms, also a respectable draw if they were to do this. But yes, this is still, I would say, a tough draw. Always the Brazilian sides are tough, no matter what they are in the standings or how strong they are, from a financial point of view. But they still have a significant advantage compared to the Paraguayan teams. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see if this Olympia side is really going to challenge for it moving forward. Certainly, they feel like they have their right to it, but I think they also want to see what they can do in the local league and obviously perform in way better circumstances than they have recently. So we'll definitely have to see what happens to them as we switch gears to the Libertadores, as two of our Paraguayan sides were drawn in this round of 16. We're going to go first to the side that finished second in their group. In that group with Olimpia, Peñarol, and Colón, it was Cerro Porteño, who I think have really regretted getting that second place finish, Fede, and they take on no one else but the two-time defending champions and best team overall out of the 16 teams with 6 wins, no draws, and no losses, Palmeiras. I mean, a lot of Cedro fans were really hoping that this was the draw, that they didn't want it, and unfortunately their nightmare came true.
Yeah, you were gonna have to face a strong team, but this is probably the strongest right now in South America, especially because of what they've done the last 2 seasons, winning the Copa Libertadores and making it to the Clubs World Cup. So yeah, they got the experience, they know what they're doing, they got a great team, they got a great defense. I really like Palmeiras, even though it's not my favorite way of playing, but it's very effective. And look, that's a team that barely loses lately. I mean, there's a couple of those teams in South America. You can look at River, maybe you can look at Palmeiras. These are teams that rarely lose, and it's really hard to score on them. Also, I've been looking at Palmeiras, been following them, and they barely get a goal on their um, uh, on their sheet. So it is going to be tough for Olympia, for Cerro Porteño. I mean, especially because their forwards haven't been doing that well. They do still have a couple of injured players, and you got a couple of players that are also out right now with the national team that you got to see how they get back to the team. They're pretty important. I'm talking about Alan Benitez. I'm talking about Ángel Lucena. These are very important players for Chiqui Arce, and they need to come back stronger. Cerro can bring in a couple of players from the local league. There's been rumors, there's been names been throwing out there. Nothing confirmed yet. Gabriel Auche from General Caballero has been doing pretty well these last couple of seasons. He might get a call from Cerro Porteño. Brian Zamudio, I've heard, also former national team player, has also been rumored linked to Cerro Porteño. So Cerro's looking out there. Cerro wants to do it big in Libertadores. They lost important players like Morales, Sergio Diaz, forwards, aggressive players, and they need options. I think from midfield up, they need options. They need something more than Claudio Aquino. They can't depend just on this playmaker, and especially if they're going to play against Palmeiras, and they're going to need the best out of Juan Patiño, the best out of Duarte, also the defense. If they get to that game against Palmeiras, against that matchup against the Brazilian side, 100%, I think it's just going to boost the opportunities for Cerro Porteño, because if they have their defense set up, I think they can make a run for it. I do think Cerro Porteño is ready for the challenge, but Palmeiras in the preview looks so strong, Roberto. It's even kind of scary.
Yeah, Maria, and I wanted to go to you on this one because also another familiar face is on this Palmeiras side. He captains Palmeiras, obviously, a name that we've always talked about here at Guarani Vision. Gustavo Gomez, obviously taking on many of his teammates, many of players that he's obviously played for, against, and obviously trained with a lot of these guys. So obviously familiar faces all around. The coach as well, Chiqui Arce, was a former coach of him, but this is David versus Goliath, I would say. I mean, I like to be optimistic. I think in football, anything happens, but you're asking a lot for Cedro to really go and defeat the two-time defending champions, who also, obviously, Cedro have to play the first game at home and then travel to Sao Paulo, where Palmeiras do not. I mean, like Fede said, Palmeiras don't lose games overall, but at home, the record's even incredible. I think they haven't lost in so many games.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be a tough one for sure. I wish you guys luck because I wouldn't want to be in that situation. But facing Palmeiras out of everyone just has to be, just have to put everything that you have. There's no space for any kind of mistake. The team has to be aligned and everything. But I think it just comes as in, you have to put all your effort, and whatever happens at this point, because you can train as much as you can. You can go through all the plays as many times as you want, but at the end of the day, when you face a team like Palmeiras, it's like facing Brazil versus as a national team. So it's just gonna be a tough one. We're just hoping, or I'm guessing you guys, the fans, are hoping that it's not gonna be a bad beatdown and they can get some kind of good result and maybe a goal or two in there.
Yeah, and Fede, I'll close out on this one because I think Arce, this is a manager that's, he's not dumb, obviously. We know this. He's been such a winner in Paraguayan local leagues for quite some time. We know that he is very pragmatic. So certainly for him, I think he has a plan. I think we also know that this is a manager that is intelligent in the way that he thinks, and to really motivate these guys, obviously because of his history as well. But, this is not exactly, I think if it was any other manager in the local league, maybe the circumstances would even be worse. But I think with someone like Chiqui Arce, who knows these players will die for him, basically, to use an expression. It kind of maybe sides in center in a way. I don't know. It's just my thought.
Yeah.
On all
No,
this.
no, no. I'm with you. I'm with you totally. And Chiqui Arce, his story is very linked also to Brazil. You said it. He's a former player there in Palmeiras. They really respect him. They have great memories of his time there, and you're gonna see that probably when Cerro Porteño plays over there. And Chiqui, he's had the experience lately. I mean, they played this team in 2018, and he was already there. He was their coach, so he knows what he's going up against, and it's probably his favorite league besides the Paraguayan league. This is probably a league that he follows a lot. This is a team that he's probably seen and studied, and there's enough time between group stage and now these two games that you're gonna have. I was actually listening to him talk about that he's gonna try to make the team evolve and practice certain plays, get ready for a certain way that Palmeiras plays. So you have time to prepare. So I'm hoping that Cerro Porteño has a plan, has a game plan, besides what they always bring, besides what you're used to seeing out of Cerro Porteño. And if it gets really hard, Roberto, if it gets too tough, just avoid embarrassment. I think that's important also for Cerro Porteño because they are trying to build something for the future. And to build something for the future, for Chiqui Arce to look strong against a huge team like Palmeiras, maybe you're going to have to avoid embarrassment also. And that's not going to be easy because this team, once they get going, they're kind of hard to stop also.
Absolutely. Obviously a team that loves to score goals. I think they scored like 27 or something like that. I have to check the number, but no, this is a tough task for them. But yeah, I mean, if it does come at the worst scenario, I mean, if you really put them up to the test and really get the best out of Cedro and a Palmeiras side that does indeed suffer, and let's just say hypothetically maybe they win the series 2-1 or something along those lines, I think Cedro Porteño could feel that they have some pride left in them in that kind of scenario. But yeah, I think this is a circumstance where you have to play in a different way. You have to be more pragmatic. You have to change the way that you think. And, like you said, Fede, like I know that you don't really like the way that Palmeiras plays, but in the end, it's what gets them those results to win. And maybe Cerro Porteño has to take a page from that it could be ugly. It could be from a penalty or a corner or something along those lines. But if they were to win this series 1-0 from a sloppy goal, like, those those FIFA goals, like getting it from the corner where it hits the post like 5 times before it like randomly rolls over the net. I mean, hey, you get that. That's a win.
What was it? 2 Libertadores ago that they played River, well, probably at the best moment of River, right? And if they would have gotten through River Plate, they were going to get the respect of South America. And I'm going to say the same thing about Palmeiras. Even if you leave them out in penalties, people are going to look at you differently. People are going to look at your project, at the club, at what you're doing, at what Chiquias has been doing these last years in Cerro Porteño, totally different, because it's not, everybody's waiting to see who can take down Palmeiras. I mean, this has been the strongest team in the last 2 seasons, when we thought that other Brazilian teams looked even better, like Flamengo, but no, it hasn't been that way. It's been Palmeiras. It's been Gustavo Gomez's team.
I think a lot of Brazilian fans are tired of seeing Palmeiras win all these titles. So maybe all of the fans will be citing Cerro Porteño and saying, please eliminate them and please take them out of their misery. So we'll see what happens there. But let's switch gears to the other Paraguayan team, who will be dealing with some deja vu, actually. Libertad were drawn first in this round of 16. They will be taking on a familiar foe, a foe that they took on in the group stage. It was Atlético Paranaense, who, if you remember, guys, these two played each other in the group and kind of shared results. Libertad got a 1-0 win in Asunción the first time that they played, and then they lost 2-0 over back in Curitiba. So, Fede, I mean, for Libertad, obviously the best team, you would say, in Paraguay at the moment, the reigning leaders of the
almost
champions, almost champ. I mean, we could go out and say that as well, but I think Libertad could breathe a sigh of relief, actually, that they do take on a familiar foe. And I think for Garnero, I think it kind of helps them in a way that they get to take on a familiar foe.
Yeah, it's kind of good, go up against a team that you already know. You've studied the players that you're going to go up against, even though, in that second game, the one that was played in Brazil, Atlético Paranaense really showed their strong stuff, and we talked about that game a couple of episodes ago, with Scolari coming in as the head coach for this Paranaense and making this team look a lot better. So I'm kind of scared in a way because of their head coach, because he has a lot of experience. He knows what he's doing, and he really beat Daniel Garnero in that matchup between the coaches. And watch out with Paranaense also, what they might bring to their squad. I was reading about Fernandinho coming into the squad. I mean, they bring players straight out of Europe, out of the big teams. I mean, this is a guy that's just been champion with Manchester City. So, I mean...
Most successful winner at Manchester City, by the way. I think he has the most trophies in club history.
It's crazy what these Brazilian teams do, right? I mean, the way that they just get the roster even more strong for the second part of the year. So yeah, they already have Canovo, I think the Uruguayan player, right? A very young, talented player that really messed Libertad up in that second game that I saw. You're going to have a couple of players that you're going to have to stop, that you're going to have your game plan ready for that also. It's not just about being the strong attacking team that you see Libertad be in the local league. I think they're going to have to do a lot more in Libertadores. They're going to have to step up their game, but I have big expectations for Libertad. I've been on this team like this for the last seasons, and they need to get to the last stages of the Libertadores. That's my thought. If not, it's just going to be a complete failure for them. They have just such a huge budget. They have so many players in this roster. They keep bringing in players. I mean, this team has to be in the semifinals, in the finals that they can get there, but they got to be in the top 4 teams. That's my way of seeing it.
Yeah,
what do you think, Maria?
I think that saying that they have to win this or they have to go so far, it might be a little too much for them, because they are, already focusing a lot on the clausura too. So sorry, the apertura. So it's like, I feel like maybe it's being asked too much of them. I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible. I think they really have the team to do it and go far. But Libertadores, I want to say it's one of the biggest competitions in the world. I think maybe they can do it in the Sudamericana, if they do go that way. But to me, I think that it'll be, I guess, a huge deal worldwide, I would say, if they do get the Libertadores and also the Apertura. So, but yeah, I mean, I think they are also breathing in a sigh of relief playing against this team, another Brazilian team. So I just hope that they can not take it too aback, like I was saying about Olympia. So, don't take it too easy. Continue doing your work, stay concentrated, and, do your thing.
Absolutely. We'll definitely have to see what happens to Libertad and Cerro Porteño and Olimpia, obviously, as they play in this competition later this month as we switch gears to the Albirroja, who this was a side that also had a new jersey. Hard to believe it, guys. Another jersey for these guys. I don't know if any of you guys are big fashionistas and saw the kits. I like it, actually. I think that's the only positive thing you could say about the Paraguay national team. I want your opinion if you guys have seen it. Fede, come on. I know you're a big fan of shirts and whatnot. Do you like the new Paraguay kit?
Yeah, I like the new one. It's totally different watching that first picture that they give you in social media, and then watching it on an actual match. It gives you like a totally different perspective, and I really liked it on the pitch. Unfortunately, it didn't last long because the game went totally the other way. But I really like the shirt. I like the kit. Let's see we'll see the other shirts, the alternative ones, because up until now I think we've only seen the official one.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
one that takes us back to what, 1970s, around there, because it is kind of a similar model to that, to one that we used to win actually a Copa America, right?
Yeah. The inspiration was made from the 1979 Copa America win, which was also actually the inspiration of another kit. I think in 2011, 2012, they had a similar kit as well. It's like the circle.
It's like a throwback jersey,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So it's a throwback of a throwback, basically. So it looks nice. Yeah. I mean, Maria, I don't know if you saw the kit as well, but
I'm actually looking at it now, and it looks really nice. I was actually thinking that it does look retro and, kind of classic, the ones that were symbolic of our national team. So it was really nice.
It is a reminder of the glory days, which obviously we didn't see
Looks
today.
like a classic, yeah.
Yeah,
That's it. I guess they're trying to remember nostalgia, because apparently the present side is not doing
Nothing
so
else
well.
works.
No, that's it. So Paraguay did take on Japan in their tour of the Far East, as they took on this game here in Sapporo, and it started really with a side that was very different, you would say. Fede, I'll go to you on this one first, obviously, because Paraguay took on Japan with a new side. Santiago Rojas came in goal. We saw the appearance of Luis Zarate, obviously a young player at Olimpia that's been doing so well this year. Alan Benitez made it into the squad. Miguel Almiron got the captaincy for the first time. We didn't see Gustavo Gomez on this team, and they ended up falling right flat on their face, losing 4-1 on the day in Sapporo. Goals from Asano, Kamada, Mitoma, and Tanaka were the goals from the Samurai Blue. The only person to score for Paraguay was a player that, hard to believe, was, I guess you could say, exiled a bit from the Paraguay national team and hasn't been playing for quite some time. Derlis Gonzalez. A lot of players have been asking for him, and boy, did he step up when he needed to, even if Paraguay didn't show its best game so far. But no, I think there's no reason to doubt Derlis Gonzalez anymore. I mean, you saw the game. I saw it as well. I mean, what are your takeaways from this, if at all?
Well, I love this team, Roberto. They were so precise with the ball. They shot, 20 times that goal. This team was just over the top. They're so ready for the World Cup. I'm obviously talking about Japan. I'm not talking about Paraguay. Japan is so ready. I think they're going to probably beat another South American team, just like they did last time around. What was it? Colombia they beat in the last World Cup. So, hey, look, this team is evolving. Just looking at them and what they become from 2010 to 2022, last time we played them in an official game, they're beating us the harder every time we face them, Roberto. It's just hitting me so hard. I mean, this was the worst loss in history against Japan. I mean, we played them several times, but this is the worst loss in the history. That's how bad we are right now as a team. And a lot of people are saying, are these games good for this team right now? Because we're not competitive. The team that's in front of us is taking 20 shots at us. We barely get 2-3 shots. So are these the kind of matches that we need to play right now? Are we really building a good team? Are we building anything at all right now? Is everything just falling apart? Are we really finding something? Is Geloto finding something? Because we're changing the coaches. We've been doing this for I don't know how long now, and things don't change. I mean, this team does not look like it's going to win anytime sooner against competitive teams like Japan is. Japan is ready for the World Cup. They actually didn't put their full roster straight away from the first minute. They actually put them on the second half, and they look even better on the second half, and they scored 4 goals on us. I'm happy for Derlis Gonzalez. I'm happy for Alderete's level. I think he's evolved so much in Europe, in Spain this last season. I really loved what I saw from the defense, from that defender. I did not like what I saw from our goalkeeper. I didn't like Aquili Rojas. This is a young goalkeeper from the local league, from Nacional. He's been taken several times to the national team, and I didn't like him. It's not what I was expecting. He wasn't that good with the ball. He had a lot of trouble. He even made a penalty. So, and he wasn't talking that much. We need leaders right now. We need players that are committed to the cause, that can assume the situation. Also, this pressure that we're playing with, we need to win, and we need it badly. We've only won one game since Geloto has gotten here. It's not good enough, and I don't see what the coach is doing. I don't see a big change. I thought that we were going to see a lot more new names on this last list, on this 2 games against these 2 Asian teams. Why not take the young players? I don't get it. You're still losing. You lost with your experienced players, with your European players, with Miguel Almiron, with the Romero twins, with I don't know who else we got in Europe. Andres Cubas, he also plays in France. With all your European players, you're losing 4-1 against Japan. So why not take the young players, give them the experience, give them a new chance? I'm not liking what I'm seeing from Geloto. I think the change needs to be made straight away and 100%. Not like he's doing it just step by step. It's not working that way. You don't have a strong team to put in young players and make them grow. Nothing is working right now in this team. The only good thing we had was Derlis Gonzalez. He made the play for the goal. Besides that, offensively, this team pretty much didn't bring anything to the game.
I was thinking about your question about Fede, about what good. I think it was. Is it good for us to be doing these kind of friendlies? And the fact that they are booking games against Japan, against I think some teams in Africa, like on the other side of the world. I don't think it's all that traveling is helping them. It's a lot of traveling. Obviously, the players are going to be tired once they get there.
12-hour difference.
Of course, it's a long trip, and on top of everything, they have to play a great team. So I'm not, obviously, I'm not giving them an excuse for their performance, but I just think that maybe the federation needs to consider this kind of situation and book friendlies with our neighbors. Argentina, Brazil, the teams that we're actually going to face more often than facing Japan and the likes of Qatar. Who knows? That's just what I think that the federation should be considering.
The worst thing, Maria, is now when you set up and when you get ready to watch this team, you're actually expecting this. I mean, in the preview, I was expecting this. I was expecting for Japan to to have 20 shots at goal. I was expecting for Japan to make 2-3 goals because it's what Paraguay has shown us lately. So what are they doing differently? What are they changing? They're not changing absolutely anything, Roberto. I mean, this team is looking even worse as the games go by.
It's interesting to say that, and I think there's a lot of points given, and we'll obviously make it a bit short now. But I think to Maria's point, yeah, it would make more sense too. But there's it's kind of divided as well. It's like at one point, yes, you should play those teams that are obviously more, not I would say familiar in South America. But look at these countries who they want to face. They're going to the World Cup. They need to face the strong team. We saw Argentina beat Italy the other day. They're getting ready for the World Cup. They want to go and win it. Brazil playing these type of games as well. So it's difficult, especially when you're a team that's not going to the World Cup. So it's hard to get any of these games against these big sides moving forward. Yes, Japan is a big side, and they got to play South Korea in a few weeks. Next week as well, who are very strong in themselves as well. They just, yes, they lost to Brazil 4-1, but still, it's a strong side, one of the best teams in Asia, if not the best team in Asia, with Japan. So.
And then there are tough players, Roberto, and then there are players also that get the opportunity and they don't handle the opportunity very well. Alan Benitez was a player that I didn't like today. Alan Benitez had a great opportunity today. We didn't have our right backs available. Robert Rojas, Juan Escobar was out of the list. He was probably an alternative for that spot. Alberto Espinola. Those are three names that are probably on top of Alan Benitez, but he got a shot and he pretty much screwed it up. He had a lot of mistakes with the ball. He made a lot of fouls. And, there are players that are getting the opportunity, and this is the national team. You're not going to get 4 or 5 games. You're not going to get 6, 10 games. You're going to get 1, 2 shots. And if you don't take it, you're probably going to be out of this list and you're not going to come back.
Or as bad as Paraguay have seemed in the last few years, yes, it's those opportunities and where you need to show up. And even if you don't, you're done. One of the things I do want to look at and looking at these players, like you said, Fede, Miguel Almirón, I think he's a talented player in itself, but a captain?
He was the captain today. He was the captain today.
Listen, and Maria, you both of you guys have all said this, that we don't have any leaders from this side. Is Miggy a leader? I don't see it. And he's the one giving the captaincy.
Be our captain, Roberto.
Are you kidding me?
He's not ready for that.
No, Maria, guy is he's like a puppy, basically, if you look at his smile. This guy doesn't show any fear as a captain. Are you kidding me? None of these guys are going to be afraid of him being the captain.
He's what, like the 4th or 5th captain in the team?
Yeah, obviously Gustavo Gomez is, but even then, it's just, he's not the captain. He's not captain worthy. He's talented in all he wants. He does not
if
have
anything,
the
one of the
personality to win the captain, to win the... Yeah, obviously all of us have...
He hasn't even had the personality to be the starter of this team, and he needs to say something about that because he hasn't lived up to the expectation. And they keep on giving him the number 10 jersey, and they keep giving him a bigger place in that locker room. Obviously, he's our big star in Europe. He's playing in Newcastle. It looks like he's going to stay there apparently because he ended the season pretty well. It looks like Newcastle wants him on the team. That's great news for Miguel Almirón. I want him on the Premier League, but I want to see more out of him on the national team by now. I like what Jesus Medina brought to the team in the second half. I do think that he can be very good, playing next to Miguel Almirón. I do think that Almirón needs that kind of players. When Cacu Romero was on the team, they look really well together. I do think he needs that kind of players, but Almirón has not been our star. He has not done enough to be our captain, Roberto.
No, he doesn't. And unfortunately, as much as we like to look at single out a lot of these players, none of them really. Not even Gustavo Gomez, who we've criticized so many times. I'm just
waiting for our injured players to get back, Roberto. Hugo Martinez, a midfielder, and our 2 young stars. We got to mention them. They weren't available today, and they're not going to be available for a while. Julio Enciso is going to come back first, the Libertad player, before Robert Morales. Robert Morales' injury is a lot longer. But hey, when these 2 guys are back, they're going to start there, and this Paraguayan team is going to look a lot different. We saw it against Ecuador. I loved what I saw out of that game, and Tito Villalba is playing really well in Libertad also. I think he was going to be brought to this team also. Hey, look, those are 3 players that were probably going to start in this team if they were available against Japan. So we had a lot of players that couldn't play. That's the reality. Japan has so many restrictions also to go and play this game over there. The guys couldn't even leave the hotel. You can't go to Japan right now as a tourist. You can only get in the country if you're gonna go and work there. So it wasn't easy to build a team, to put on a team here. I'm not making up excuses. We still lost 4-1. I think we were still gonna lose 4-1 no matter what team we put out there. But it just makes the head coach's job even worse, because there were even issues that were really that shouldn't happen, Roberto. I mean, Juan Escobar's situation, not going, being called up, his passport not giving to the people that he needed to give it to, so they could make him travel to Asia to be available for the head coach. I mean, that was really weird. And then you got Matias Galarza, who needed to make his flight from Brazil to Japan and couldn't make his flight. He missed his flight. I mean, we need to be more serious right now. We're trying to build a future. We're trying to build a team. And if these little details happen, it's because we're not doing things right.
No, we're not. And I think it's just going to get worse. I mean, next game is against South Korea, obviously headed by the top goal scorer of the Premier League in Heung-min Son. I mean, I want both of you guys, your opinion on this. I mean, do we see a new side? Do we see the same? Does Barnes Schelotto pull a rabbit out of his hat and surprise us all, if anything?
No, that's not going to change. That's not going to change in one game. That's going to take a while. It's going to take months, probably years for them to figure it out. It's going to take a whole new squad, in my opinion.
Look, they played what? Today is Thursday. The next game is Friday, I believe, right? So it's almost a week. It's almost a whole week. It's actually a week of practice. Yeah, I think that's the best thing right now for these guys, just to be together, have practices, talk about the situation, because that's what we need right now in that locker room. We need sincerity. We need these players to be honest with each other and try to build something. If everybody that's out and watching this team from the outside is just criticizing. It's just not seeing anything positive out of what they're playing. So I hope that in the locker room, at least they can get a little stronger. And because today, I saw players that were frustrated. I saw players that showed me the same thing I was seeing in the qualifiers. And I thought today was the beginning of a new process. I thought players were going to understand that today was the beginning of something different, but it wasn't like that. It was just like the same thing we were watching in the qualifiers, starting all over again. It was like the same nightmare happening over and over, Roberto.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see that, but let's see what they can do next week against South Korea as we close off another great episode of Guarani Vision. For myself, Roberto Rojas, Fede Perez, and Maria Britos, thank you so much for listening in. See you soon.